Welcome to the Real Refined Podcast, where faith and the mind meet. I'm your host, Bri.
And I'm your host, Tierra. Tap in. Welcome back, Real Refined fam. How y'all doing? We are back in the studio.
Oh, man.
Y'all, welcome to season 3. We have numbers now. Remember
We did not have numbers.
We started doing numbers in season 2.
Yes.
But this is our official season 3. T, you look good, friend.
You look good.
Thank you.
It's the braids and the fedora and the makeup and the shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
I am so excited to be back in the studio. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm really excited to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
What you been up to though? Just really quick. What you been doing? Tell our people what you been up to.
I feel like this is going somewhere. So coaching has been going great. Ministry through dance has been going amazing. And you know what I'm saying? I might have, like published or whatever a journal.
What?
A breakup journal, a breakup to breakthrough journal.
Period.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I'm excited for you.
Yes.
I can't wait until you what about If She Is to Be Found? Tell us about that.
If She Is to Be Found, so that's what I'm continuing with one-on-one coaching now.
Oh, okay.
I'm working with my second client and it's going really well. I really like the one-on-one interaction where I get to really go deeper instead of moving my attention between multiple people. I really like getting to go deep with that one person and spend time in prayer for that one person.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you, friend. What about you?
Oh my gosh. So I was just asking about what you were doing.
I know. And now it's your turn.
I don't want them in my business like that. Okay, what have I been doing, y'all? I would call myself retired from corporate. I don't know. I would call air quotes retired, but I'm full-fledged in my coaching. I recently launched my travel planning business, the Beyond Lux Experience, because it is really an experience, y'all.
Yes.
Travel planning from A to Z. You just show up to your trip and you have an amazing time. You ever have that friend that does all the planning, all the whatever?
Yes.
That's me.
And you let them.
Yes. So you can just show up.
Exactly.
So I launched that. My books are open for Mastering Your Mindset Coaching. So I like the one-on-one too. I really have been enjoying when I say enjoying, getting back into. Because it's been a while since I've had clients because I was working in corporate because I just had all these corporate dreams.
Yeah.
But now I'm my own CEO. And I love it. It's amazing, but I feel like, and that's probably another discussion, entrepreneurship is
a faith journey.
That's the word. I was trying to find the word. I couldn't find the word. It's a faith journey, and I'm just leaning and trusting God. My support system is amazing. My husband is amazing. He's a good man, Savannah.
He is.
So he really pushes me on days where I'm just like, I don't know. Do I need to just go find a 9-to-5? He's very supportive. And then I have friends like you, girl, just be thankful.
Look.
that you're your own boss.
Yes.
So, but yes, I am. But most of all, I'm excited to be back here.
Yes.
In the studio. We have so many great things coming for y'all in season 3. But today,
we missed y'all, family.
We really did miss y'all. Today, we are talking about hard conversations.
Yes.
Navigating through those conversations, what that's like, and why are hard conversations so hard?
Man.
Why is that even a thing? One thing, and I think me and you just talked about this, communication in general, the older we get, is hard. It seems like there's just this tug of war when you're trying to just converse with someone. But I mean, the regular casual conversation of, how are you doing today? I'm doing great. Well, what did you do? I did this. Versus, this is how you made me feel. I feel this way because, or however. That's the part that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Even in workplaces. So when we talk today, it's not about to be just about friendships. That was a tongue twister when I said that. It's not going to be just about friendships and things like that. It's the workplace. I feel like hard conversation at work. Don't even get me started with that because I've had to have a few, especially in leadership roles, in your relationship, in your marriages, in your friendships. There's just so many places that we're having these hard conversations, and it's tough.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you navigate through having those hard talks where you have to sit down? Oh, even with yourself, you know what I'm saying?
If I'm being honest, And I think most of us should be aware that we can know what the right thing is to do and still not be at that place where we are actively doing the right thing.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yes.
So I know the correct response to having a difficult conversation is to, of course, actually engage in it and approach it and not lead with your ego. But the reality is, for me, I tend to shut down.
Ooh, let's talk about that part.
Ooh.
You in my business. But I'm also guilty too.
Yeah,
it's so much easier to shut down. But I want to hear like why you shut down.
This is giving therapy.
I mean, I am a mindset coach. So.
Yeah. I think there's a number of reasons why I shut down, and I'm sure other people can probably relate. But I know maybe one of the reasons that I shut down is out of fear of being vulnerable, because if I have to actually approach the conversation and say, you know, like, this happened and this really hurt my feelings, or, you know, I feel rejected or whatever, you know, sometimes it's difficult to be vulnerable with the other person and say, my feelings are hurt, or, you know, I feel rejected, or I feel, you know, whatever. So I think that fear of actually exposing, because sometimes too, it can be the whole, like, you're being too sensitive. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or you're like, that's your thing. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And I've had people take that approach when I've expressed myself in the past, but I think the reality is, most of the people in my life now they don't respond that way. But I think when you've experienced someone responding that way, you kind of expect, like, if I put myself out here and say yourself. This, this person could possibly make me feel stupid for saying that. And I think another big part of the reason, and I think they kind of go hand in hand, it might start off as fear, but then also like ego. My therapist had to lay into me and was like, you're leading with your ego. Wow. And I was just like,
she came for you.
Oh my goodness. Like, I could not say anything in response, because she was right. And the longer that you go without having that difficult conversation, the more your ego kind of takes up space in that emptiness of not actually talking. Yeah. And your ego says, this person should apologize to me, or they need to make it right, or I'm not the one reaching out because I'm not the one that's wrong. And you just start thinking all of these things that put you in a position of like being the victim or being the person that is in the right, and you're the person that's owed something. And the longer that you do that, the less inclined you feel to approach the conversation, because you're looking at that person like, you need to come talk to me. So I think, at least for me, like, those have been two of the main reasons that I found. And I think the ego is, of course, rooted in pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Raggedy. Raggedy.
Pride is a real thing. And I always want to continue to pray, like, get that up out of my heart.
Oh, my God.
Because there's so much that we're holding ourselves back from when we're holding on to pride. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like hard conversations are hard because there's an expectation there too. Like, in your mind, you go into this conversation. You ever have like conversations with yourself before you have the conversation?
Baby, what? You know, you got to practice.
I got to make sure I look in the mirror and I say what I'm going to say to you, even if it's with my hands. You know what I'm saying?
You know?
I'm going to practice in the car on the way home. So I think sometimes we have this expectation in our mind with how we are expecting it to go. And when it's not that way, it kind of holds us back from having other hard conversations. Because honestly, a conversation can save a lot of friendships, a lot of marriages, a lot of issues in the workplace. Just having that one simple like talk can save so much. And I always think back to, like, there could have been conversations that I could have had like in the past. Then it makes me ask the question, like, are conversations necessary for certain situations? Because I've experienced situations where I'm like, I'm not trying to talk. This is severed. This is it.
This is the
end of the road, buddy. That's it.
This is the straw that has broken the camel's back, and it's broken.
Like, I've been in that place before. Yeah. And I'm like, as I'm maturing and I'm thinking about it now, like, maybe I should have had a conversation, but the conversation back then would have been like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. I'm guess I'm wondering, like, how do you have a conversation when you feel like there's no conversation to be had?
I think recognizing that, like, you're not the only person with feelings that's involved. Like, the other person has a perspective of how whatever the situation is happened. They have an intention that they set out on. And if you value that relationship, then when you step outside of the ego, what their experience and perspective is does matter. I think that, and I've been guilty of this, and I still low-key might be guilty of it, depending on, what the conversation is. But it's like, I ain't talking to you. Just throw away the whole friendship. Just throw away the whole thing. Like, I don't need it. But I think that's, if I'm honest, there are some situations, even situations that I know needed to end. I mean, baby, it's done, right? You have showed your tail, and I'm done, right? I still look back and I wish that I would have had the courage to still have a conversation, because I think that I could have learned something from it, or I could have, if I think that, oh, this person thinks this or they feel this, because we make those assumptions in those empty spaces when we're not actually talking. At least if I would have had a conversation, I could have proved whether or not I was right. And then if I was wrong, it would have been an opportunity to mend that relationship if that relationship is valuable to me. But the issue is, when we're in our ego and when we're offended and when we're hurt, and this is something that the Holy Spirit kind of convicted me about just even recently. When you're in your ego and there's not a conversation, in that emptiness, your ego is giving you a perspective about the situation. And usually your ego is always there to protect you. Mm-hmm. So it's giving you perspective that makes you the victim, that makes you the person that's been offended, and they owe you an apology, and they need to make it right, and they need to change. And you're focusing on all of the negative things about the other person. And what the Holy Spirit said to me was, you're focusing on all of the negative aspects of this person. Like, you're not seeing it clearly. You're not seeing the relationship clearly. You're not seeing the situation clearly, because your ego is taking the lead. You're not letting even me, like the Holy Spirit, take the lead, because I'll give you full perspective. Like, it's going to be fair and just. But when your ego is leading, you start to look at all the reasons why I don't need this. Like,
I'm dealing with that.
Yeah, like, okay, we ain't got to talk. But your ego is not, it's not gonna maintain and mend relationships. Your ego will just have you with you on an island by yourself, because it's all about you. And I think stepping outside of that very selfish way of thinking, and it's easy to do, especially when your feelings are hurt, I think that allows an opportunity for you to, like, look at the other person as a whole person, and as this person that I actually love and value, not just the person that hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's hard sometimes. You really have to take a step outside of yourself, and you do have to go to God with it. Honestly, that's the only way that I was able to step out and see it differently, because when I just sat with me and my perspective, it only led me to not want to reconcile. It led me to not want to have a conversation. But when I started to lean into God and ask him, like, what do you think about it? And started, praying for that other person, it caused me to see things differently, where I felt like my heart wasn't so hard.
Yeah.
And I was able to entertain the thought of, like, okay, let me just reach out. And then also, your ego is low-key, like, full of fear. Like, it's the fear thing too, because it's just reaching out to have a conversation. If it goes left, it goes left. It's already left. Because I'm mad and we ain't talking. Like, it's already left. So me reaching out to have a conversation will either resolve it, or I'll be back where I already am. But either way, like, I don't know. It's like getting past that hurdle of pushing the other person completely out, their perspective, their feelings, your relationship with them, their value. Like, and it makes you just want to dispose of people. And I don't think that that's necessarily healthy. I think sometimes we go a little bit too far with protecting our peace. Like, no, God's called us to be in relationship with people, and seasons do change and friendships do change through those seasons. But I do think that we miss a lot of opportunities to learn how to grow in relationship with people, because when we get to those challenging places where now we have to have conversations. Before, we got along about everything, but now we've reached an impasse. Now we're different about something. I think when we're so easy to like throw it away, we miss opportunities to actually grow through those challenges in relationships.
Yeah. I have so many like thoughts to everything that you just said. I was just over here running like a track in my mind.
Girl, you got to stop me.
No, I'm just thinking about someone who was severely hurt by the person on the other end. So a person, you need to have a conversation with this person to say, you really hurt me, but the level of pain that they inflicted on you, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, pain is kind of like, I think that there is a time, because you said we quickly dispose of people. And I think depending on the relationship and the situation, people do let people go.
For sure.
I'm quick.
I will definitely cut you off.
But I also know that maybe there is a time to come back later, even to have a conversation, whether it be through a message or a text or something, where y'all revisit what happened and y'all have y'all's, I guess, final words or whatever. But I do find that people who are hurt, they don't want to talk. Like, they want to navigate. I think we respond to hurt in different ways.
Definitely.
Some people lash out and become very angry, and anger is secondary. It is not the primary emotion. But we lash out and we become very angry. And then there's people that just kind of like shut down and they decide, like, you know what? I need to be away from people so that I'm not bleeding my pain and whatever I have onto others. Yeah. So I just need to be away for a little bit. And that includes, I can't speak to you right now. That includes, I have to go heal. God, I just need you, and that's it right now. Everything else, I'm not trying to converse with anybody. I'm not trying to reconcile right now. I just need to figure out what this is that I'm feeling, and then I can come back and talk. I think those different type of people, they have different type of conversations, because that one who's angry is going to come in 38 high. Well, this is how you made me feel, and I feel like this because you didn't do so and so, and it's going to be an attack, as opposed to that person that takes a pause and says, you know what, I'm not going to shut down, but I can't speak to you right now or have this hard conversation because I really am hurt, or I am really angry. And I know that if I say something to you right now, it's going to really hurt you, and it may hurt this relationship. Yeah. So I think that being slow to the conversation, some things are quick, but being able to evaluate, like, I need to make sure I know what I'm going to say. Ego aside, I need to make sure I understand how am I feeling right now? And how am I going to show up in this conversation? How am I showing up to you, God? How am I showing up with myself? Like, what is happening before I even go sit and speak with this person? And then after you have the conversation, are we reconnecting? You know, we may reconcile the situation. Yeah. Are we going to reconnect? Because reconciliation does not always mean reconnection. Like, I don't have to reconnect with you and speak to you again because I reconciled our differences. Again, that's my opinion.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I forgive you, but that does not mean we can be reconnected. That does not mean you can come back into my space. That does not mean I have the capacity or the space for you anymore. Yeah. Do I wish you well? Absolutely. Do I want you to succeed? Absolutely. But I think you were speaking about seasons. I think we ourselves, we go through these different changes and we mature and we realize that, dang, we were trash back then. So now we gotta do different things. And the older that I get, you know, I want to make sure that I have the right people around me. So anyone that has hurt me, and I'm not perfect, if I've hurt anybody, they also get to choose if they want to reconnect. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that's more of the forgiveness conversation. But once we forgive that person and we have that conversation, if there is a conversation, because what if I don't want to talk to you? Yeah. Like, where does it go if I decide that I forgive you, this is good, disconnected, and you move on and I move forward? Yeah. You know, like, where is that line that's like, is that still pride? Is that still ego if I decide that I forgive you, but I don't want to deal with you?
Absolutely not.
You know?
No, for sure. And you make a great point. Like, and I've actually talked about this in one of my coaching sessions. Like, having that conversation of reconciliation, first of all, it's not always necessary. It depends on the relationship. Okay. Now, if this is a close friend, family member, somebody that you've been having good relationship with, I think that in those cases, like, and of course, everybody's situation is different. So again, like, this is not a one size fits all thing. Like, all closure doesn't necessarily come from having a conversation. And not to plug, but that's a part of the reason why I created the Breakup to Breakthrough Journal. Because no, seriously, like, so let's just think the Breakup to Breakthrough Journal, and it's not just for romantic relationships, also friendships, whatever. There are a lot of situations where if you go back to have a conversation, it could do more damage to you as you're trying to heal from it.
That's good.
And like, for instance, like if you're dealing with someone who's narcissistic, they're not going to give you close. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a conversation, but having a conversation with someone that lacks all self-awareness, who, again, narcissism is a Leviathan spirit. So a part of what that means is to twist or turn, meaning that even if I'm saying something, that spirit is twisting up my words and you hear something completely different when I'm talking. Yeah. That's not a productive conversation to have. Like, that's not going to
go anywhere.
Right. So in those cases, you might not necessarily need to have a conversation with the person, but you need to have a conversation between you and God. You need to sit with some stuff. You need to ask yourself some questions. You need to, and this is the thing, like, even if you don't reconcile or have that difficult conversation with the person, no matter what, you need to be having a conversation with you and God, because forgiveness is mandatory. Like, we don't get to pick and choose if we're a believer. Yeah, I'm abide by this, but I don't abide by that because you just don't understand what happened. It doesn't matter. Forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is to make sure that your relationship with God remains open and intimate. He says, if you're going to bring me an offering and you have an ought against somebody, you need to leave your offering, go make it right with that person, and then come back, right? So forgiveness is essential. And I think that sometimes we prolong that process of walking through the healing that leads to forgiveness because we keep trying to have a conversation that we're not supposed to have. Yeah. So for instance, like, I'm not necessarily going to have a conversation with the person that molested me. I might not necessarily have a conversation with my narcissistic ex. Yeah. Those are not productive. I think that conversations are those difficult conversations, even when something ends. So like, if you've gone through a divorce, I think it could be helpful to have a conversation with your ex. But I think the thing is, both people have to be willing to have the conversation, and they have to go into the conversation like willing to take something from it and not just bring their stuff and grievances to the conversation. So like, for instance, if someone has divorced, having that conversation afterwards, like, how did I show up in this marriage? Like,
that's good.
What did I do? Why didn't we work out? Those are great conversations to have if both people are willing to do it and are willing to walk away and learn something new about themselves. Like, I think I show up like this, but this person perceived me in a different way than what I thought. And I think having those conversations too, and this is another huge thing. I'm gonna stop because I'm getting excited. No, none of us are as self-aware as we think we are.
That's so true.
We're not. You think you show up a certain way. You think you're a certain type of person. You're not. Having conversations is you willing to learn something new about yourself that you didn't know. And a lot of people are content not being self-aware and believing. The Bible says that you ought not believe that you're something that you're not. If I think I'm one way, but the way that I showed up in this relationship, it read different to the other person, that's valuable information for me to take back and go reconcile that.
So true.
Dang, I thought I was the most giving, blah, 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 blah. And again, talking with another self-aware person that is reasonable, that is, here to give grace, but also be honest. This person said, or has expressed to me, that I actually showed up really selfish. Now, just because that's how that person perceived you, it may or may not be true. What you then do with what you get from that conversation, which, real criticism, I go back to God. Hey, God, this person has perceived me in this way that I'm in close relationship with. Is this true? Is this something about me that is a blind spot for me? And there have been times where I've had that conversation with God, and he's like, yeah, it's a little bit. Let's see. Not mean that I'm a bad person, just something for me to be aware of and work on in how I'm showing up in my relationships with other people.
Oh, goodness. I mean, I'm like to the point where I'm trying to make sure I guess it's one of those things. Everything you just said, you spoke to me.
I'm speaking to me too.
Especially the self-aware part, where it comes to we're not as self-aware as we think we are. And what we do when we find out that we aren't as self-aware as we think we are is critical. Because I feel like the ego in us is going to be like, I'm perfect. You don't got to tell me nothing about myself.
I'm the type of person that...
You know, as opposed to taking that back as an inventory and just saying like, man, these are some things. And I feel like that's what I've had to do just in general. Because I want to make sure that I am self-aware to the point that when I receive correction, or if there's something that someone's saying like, dang, Bri, you do X, Y, and Z, I don't take that as offense. I just say, I'll think about that, and I'm gonna talk to God about that, because maybe there is something more that I don't see, or I think that I'm showing up as, that's actually not that. And I think that was a really great point. I feel like too, a lot of us we weren't taught how to properly communicate in our childhood, so it manifests in our adulthood, and so we continue to think that, well, this is the way that I was taught, or not taught rather, how to communicate. So I'm just like this. I just grew up like this, so that's all it is. And so I think when we get older and we're more mature, we start to think like, you know what? I wasn't taught effective and proper communication. You know, I wasn't allowed to express my feelings, especially if you were in those households where, be quiet, this is the way that it is. Or if you said, hey, I'm sad, don't worry about being all that. Don't, you ain't sad. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were shut down as a child and you weren't able to use your voice and speak up, when you become older, you're like, well, I'm not talking. I'm not dealing with that. You shut down in that way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people use that excuse of, this is just how I was raised. This is how I was brought up. I'm just like this. And they run it out. I mean, like... Why are we running? Why are you running? Because we have a choice.
Yeah.
When you get older, or like a basic thing, no one taught me about credit. When you are old enough, and now we have phones. Back then it was just like the library, but there's so many things that we have at our fingertips that we can get that knowledge. Is that excuse of I didn't know, or I wasn't taught, is played out, in my opinion. Now, I'm not trying to ruffle no feathers.
It is. If you want to stay with that 200 credit score, then back, that's you.
Not 200.
I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Like,
but if it's you, work on that. But I feel like that's something, all of the I'm just this way.
Yeah.
It's a very poor excuse to not change. Because when are you going to realize that you may be the problem? And I'm speaking to me too, because I had to do that.
Yeah.
I had to realize that there are some things that maybe I was not taught that. Maybe there were behaviors and things that I saw, that I picked up in my childhood, that I'm now bringing with me, that are not healthy.
Yeah. So
we have to choose. Like when you get older, making that or having that same excuse of, oh, I didn't know, it's a really poor excuse. And I feel like when we decide that I do want to make the change, it's so much more power in just saying like, I didn't know that before, but now I want God, fix my heart. Like, please search my heart. And anything that's in here that is not like you, please remove it.
Please.
Any pride, any ego, any jealousy, any envy, anything that is in this heart, please, God, I need you to cleanse me from the inside out, because everything in our heart is relayed in our actions.
Yeah.
So if you're being prideful, if you're being envious, if you're just this jealous person, if you're this angry person, this bitter person, your actions will display that. And that's how we show up to people. And back to your self-awareness, a lot of us don't see that because we're so blinded by, that's just the way that I am. I just grew up like that. My whole family is like that. When are you going to be the beacon of change? When are you going to be the person that says, man, I've been on this hamster wheel for so long. this generational curse. Like these things happen in my family. This is normal, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not. And I think that makes a change. Okay. Yeah. I've been talking for a little bit. No, what you going to say? I got to tag team you?
No, I know. We both
air high five.
No, I think to your point, when we pray those prayers, like David prayed, Lord, search my heart.
Oh my gosh. The stuff that comes after that.
But God's response to those prayers sometimes is when we have those conflicts with the people around us.
Yeah.
Like his way of showing you what's in there is through people you're in relationship with.
Yep. That's good.
And a lot of times, instead of us actually dealing with the thing, we look at everything that's wrong with them or how they offended me in this situation. And instead of taking that, whatever that offense was or whatever, back to God and saying, God, and this is a simple prayer that I pray a lot. Like, seriously, God, am I wrong? Is it me? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
We completely miss that. We go straight into everything about the other person.
Yeah.
And even sometimes I still go into everything about the other person, but after a while, I'll be like, God, is it me? Because I'm real upset about this.
Am I the
problem? Am I the drama?
Yes.
Like, and it might not necessarily be about, and I think we're very black and white. I'm wrong or the other person's wrong. Maybe we both got some character issues that the Lord is highlighting through this problem that we're having. And instead of us both just saying, all right, that's it. I guess we ain't meant to be. I guess this season is up. Maybe if I engage with God about, okay, Lord, I don't have any compassion. I don't have the patience. I don't have whatever.
Yeah.
Help me.
Please help me.
Please help me.
Help me, please.
Because if you don't help me,
I'm going to try to help myself. And it's not going to be good.
And I'm going to go to jail. I'm just But like, seriously, like that's an opportunity.
Not go to jail.
To call on the Holy Spirit for like, okay. And the thing is, even if, let's just say, because that has been the case sometimes too, baby. Even if the other person is completely out of pocket.
Yeah.
Just walking with God and how you navigate it, it keeps you free from having any blood on your hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you still do right by the person and you follow, like, okay, I'm going to go to God about this. That puts you in a place where you don't have to worry about a guilty conscience. You don't have to look back on it like, dang, I really did because I was operating out of my ego.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to like let the other person have it. I feel like we always want to win an argument.
For real.
We want to win so bad. Even me, and I'm guilty of this, like, yeah, because, you know, because I want to be right. I want somebody to be on my side. I want somebody to agree with me. And the fact of the matter is, all of that might be the case, but I'm still messed up too. I'm wrong too.
Yeah.
But we want to win. Like, and that's one of the things that my therapist said to me. And it's something you know, but when you're in the middle of a situation that challenges it, you have to be reminded. Do you want to be right or do you want to be reconciled? Do you care more about being right than the relationship?
Yeah. That's good.
Because everything is not, oh, this person rubbed me the wrong way or they disturbing my peace or they so I'm just done. I feel like even that attitude and all, it's rooted in pride because you bring stuff into people's lives too.
That's true.
That they might not want to deal with. So who are you to decide that?
I wouldn't say it like me, but
perfect in all my ways.
Roll out the red carpet when I walk by.
To just say that, like, oh, and now it's not to say like take on everybody's stuff. Like, if anything, it is an opportunity to set boundaries.
Right.
But there are a lot of relationships that are mutually beneficial, mutually edifying, that are completely valuable, that God has put in your life to help you, that we will let go of because we don't want to have a conversation or because we want to have the conversation from a place of pride. Like, I want to go into the conversation, but I want this person to admit that they, like, you know what I'm saying? That they wronged me, that they offended me. And we're not going in offering up, well, you know what? I apologize because the way that I handled this and the way that I handled you, I don't think it was right.
Yeah.
I think I should have had the conversation sooner. And that's what makes a lot of conversations so difficult. It gets to that point because you avoided having the smaller conversations sooner.
Yeah.
You should have been talking about this 5 years ago. It started getting on your nerves 5 years ago. And you didn't say anything.
But when you do say something and nothing changes, where does that land you? You keep having the same conversation?
I think in some ways, and it depends on what it is, because there's some stuff you can't live with. Some stuff that is detrimental to, like, you as a person. Some stuff is like a character. Like, obviously, like, I'm not finna hang out with people that be scamming.
Yeah, I mean.
Or sleeping with people's husband. Like, I'm not doing it, right? But I think, I don't know, the more that I'm getting older, I also think that, like, God does bring relationships in our lives to make us whole and to help us grow in areas where we're weak. And the fact of the matter is, nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. Other people are not perfect. There might be things that are just a part of that person's nature, and God wants it to be a part of their nature for how he wants to use them. And they really not even supposed to change necessarily, or this is something that God is working out with them and they can't respond to it because you said now it's bothering me. Like, they still are in a process of walking through that. And that is something that I'm trying and learning to grasp, because the reality is, and I still have a lot of ways, and I know that I've had ways in the past where it's like, girl, I'm not hanging out with her no more. Because why?
Why
are you like this? Yeah. Like, I'm sure I rubbed people that way before.
Yeah.
But it took time for me to grow up and to mature and to see things differently. And guess what? My personality still is not for everybody.
Yeah.
There are some people that, like, they would not ever want to hang out with me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I do think that, like, okay, I have a conversation with this person about something that is literally their nature. Something that is not sinning against God. Something that, like, it just irritates me.
Yeah.
Do I have to keep focusing on it? Is it affecting me that much? Because I think sometimes when something bothers you, at least I'm this way. Like, if I'm studying or doing something and anybody makes even the slightest bit of noise, it's like the noise is so loud and I keep focusing on it, and every little thing they do irritates me. But really, it's not that big of a deal what they're doing. I'm just focusing on it because I don't like it. And it makes that thing a bigger deal to me than what it really is. And your hormones sometimes just be making you turn up when it's not even that serious.
That's so true. Ooh, oh my goodness, this is so good. I don't want it to be over. Okay, so one thing I was thinking too while you were speaking is how it takes for two people to have that hard conversation. And I feel like a lot of the time we are avoiding the hard conversation or not having those hard and difficult conversations because the person on the other end, they may not be ready. So for example, if I'm ready to, hey, can we just talk about whatever just happened, and they're on the other end still rah-rah, there's one of those things where it's just like you can't, or it's more so whatever boundary we create. Because I'm not going into a conversation with someone who's not going to just converse with me in a calm manner. Like, I'm not yelling back and forth with you.
Right.
We're not doing that.
Yell with yourself.
Go yell in the mirror, because there's no way that I'm about to, this other adult, sit and go back and forth with you. Let's just converse. And I have a very, like, it's not a nonchalant way that I communicate, or maybe like I don't care, but I'm direct, so people...
You don't have a lot of emotion. Like, not like that, but like, you don't bring your emotions to the forefront of the conversation. You're just very, like, matter of fact, like, just like how we're talking now.
That's just kind of how it is. Not everyone receives that very well, because that's just the nature of it. I'm not about to... What are we yelling for?
Right.
Why is this even a yelling match?
I always think it's funny when people are angry and they're yelling. It's like, even when I've done it, like, you look so stupid. Like
when you think back, Because I've done that before, and I've yelled in conversations before, in arguments. It's so draining, though. It is so draining to argue. Yeah. I'm not about to argue with you. So when we're ready to converse like grown-ups, and we can sit down and just, how did that make you feel? Well, that made me feel this. Well, how about you? Or I take accountability for my actions. I apologize for so-and-so. When we can get to that level, then we can talk. And then we can move forward if we so choose to, if that is what the relationship is going to be. But I have found that it does take two people to have that conversation and just say, like, you know what? We are both flawed in many ways. Now, like, what's next? And I know in marriage, that's something that's a really big thing. I've learned that just in my marriage alone, that instead of being upset and like, oh my gosh, he made me so upset and blah, 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 I'm just going to talk to him. Now, it may take me a day or two. Right. Like, I got to gather my thoughts. Right. It's not instant. But he is my best friend. So I'm going to go to my husband and say, husband, this is how I thought about it. This is what happened. This is what made me feel this way. And then we can come back and we can just go on about our married lives. Yeah. I was not always like that, though, because going back to childhood, seeing like effective communication, and I didn't see that a lot in my family. I didn't see like sit downs. Of course, if I'm that young, I probably won't see those type of sit down conversations. But in general, there was no model. There was no blueprint. There was no, this is how you communicate. So like with my children, hands down, we're talking about, it's okay to feel frustrated. This is what you do when you're frustrated. You don't throw your controller at the wall. You don't, like those are things that you just don't do. You don't break your phone. Like, I'm not saying that he broke his phone, but when it comes down to at this very stage of their lives, when I knew that I didn't have effective communication, I want my babies to communicate how they feel. Mommy, I'm frustrated. Okay, wow, let's talk about it. I'm angry. Okay, wow, let's talk about it. Anger secondary. Let's talk about why you feel this way, so that when you are a mature adult, you will know how to have these conversations. You will know what your boundaries are. You're going to know what your core values are. You're going to know and understand that this is my line. Like, there's going to be so many different things. And I feel like, back to what I was saying earlier, there has to be somebody who wants something different for their family and their bloodline. Yeah. There has to be someone who says, I've been seeing this happen for a really long time. I want something else. I want something different. And that's why I was saying, like, I'm not bashing anybody who is using that excuse of, oh, it's how I was. That's not a bash. I'm just saying that let it go. Please hang it up.
For your sake.
For your sake and those around you. Because I don't want my mess to be bleeding on other people. Like, that whole hurt people thing, I hate the saying, but it's so true.
It's true.
Hurt people, angry people, petty people, like, they're going to do that to other people because that's what they know. It's almost like I want my misery to have a little bit of company. Yeah. Just come over here just a little bit.
Come in and indulge with me.
I want you to feel how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy, and that's not the reality of how conversations are supposed to work. So I just think that they're so hard because what we were talking about, pride and ego, not knowing back then how to communicate now. Like, all of those things really just make a difference. And the older I get, I'm like, I want to be able to just have a conversation where at the end of the conversation, even if at the end we decide that we're parting ways, at least the air is clear. Yeah. At least there's an understanding of, this is where I'm flawed and that's how I made you feel, and I was able to communicate with you how you also made me feel. Yeah. Because our feelings can get us in trouble. We act on emotions so quick as opposed to pausing. Why do I feel this way?
Why do I feel this way?
Why? The why is so important.
And your feelings are not important than
the what. My boss, and I still keep in contact with him today, he always told the company, the why is more important than the what. And I was like, that actually makes sense. Why do I feel this way? Why do I need to have this conversation with you? Like, why, how, and why did we get here? That why, even if you're not going to ask the person, well, why did you do that? Self said, why do I feel this way? Yeah. What is this trigger? What happened for me to blow up? What happened? Like, we have to begin to really look at self in a way of not painting like I'm trying to be perfect and better. No, where am I flawed? Like, what is in me that that needs to come up out of me so that I can be better, so I can serve you better, Lord? Like, what am I supposed to be doing so I can be a better servant for you? I can be a better friend. I can be a better wife. I can be a better mom. There are things that we're supposed to do. And sometimes we get lazy thinking that, okay, well, it's just going to happen when it's going to happen. So the conversation never happens. The change never happens. You're on the same roller coaster. And then I'm going to be quiet. Then you start having the same issues with other relationships. Same thing.
Yeah.
Cycle.
And it's always them, not me.
Oh, yeah. You're the problem. You're the drama. But what about you?
Yeah.
But in the most, like, I want to say this in the most gentle way, we have to begin to just search and look at ourselves as opposed to you. That changed it for me.
Yeah.
Like, what changed a lot for me is looking at, dang, Bri, where are you tore up? Like, where do you need to heal? What is so deep hidden in your heart that you have to heal from, that you've been hiding from God this whole time, that's showing up in little areas of your life? What is in there that's showing up now in your actions? Like, why were you people pleasing? What was that? Why did you not have boundaries? What was that? Why were you angry? Why were you lashing out? What was that? Why was I like that? And when we look at ourselves, y'all, it's so critical to just start looking at self. And I feel like that will be one of those, that segue to how I can be a mature adult and have conversations, how I can show up, God, in his kingdom, like how I can show up in my friendships, how I can show up in my marriage, how do I show up in my children's lives. That is going to make a change. Okay, baby.
That was good.
Woo, that was a long run. I don't know how we going to cut that out.
No, that was good. That was good.
Ooh, that was on my heart.
Man, that's so good. And I think you and I both, but I know I harp a lot on inventory.
Yes.
Take inventory, take stock of like who you really are, how you're showing up.
Yep.
Like knowing who you are, it actually makes having conversations with other people easier.
So much easier.
Because number one, when you're offended, when you're triggered, you can more easily navigate, okay, where is that coming from?
Yes. Yes.
That is so good. Our emotions, I want to say this too, our emotions are not bad. Our emotions are, and I don't remember how I've heard this before. What's the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer?
What's the difference?
So a thermostat is how you set the temperature. A thermometer reads the temperature,
period.
Right? So your emotion should not be a thermostat that sets the temperature. It needs to be a thermometer. It's just telling you what's going on inside of you. So and you just need to find, okay, where's this coming from? Your emotions are not bad. We need emotions. Mm-hmm. It becomes a negative thing when we react to every emotion that we feel.
Yeah.
So being upset, being mad, being hurt, being offended, even being jealous, that's telling you that there's something in you that you see someone else have access to that you don't believe you have access to.
Yeah.
But if you act on it and you talk down on people, you make a little comment, like, then it becomes a thing. But your emotions are really there to tell you and indicate like what's going on inside of you. But with everything, bringing it back to God is the beginning of healing and reconciling wherever that thing is.
Absolutely.
And we're going to hurt people. We're going to offend people. That's just the nature of being human. So if we can understand that about ourselves, even if we think, well, I don't do nothing to nobody, okay, you've offended God. You've offended him. You've hurt him, right? That brings us to a place of humility, and humility is necessary to having those hard conversations.
It is. It is.
You can't navigate that without humility. And if you approach it without humility, it's not going to be productive.
Go so wrong.
Yeah. This was good.
Oh my goodness, it was giving some talk therapy.
It was.
Y'all, this is season 3, baby.
I'm so excited.
This is season 3. We are back in the studio.
I'm so excited.
This was great. So before we close, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are...
it's over so soon. Oh
I know. Gosh. My final thoughts are... take inventory. Before you have the hard conversation with someone else, have the hard conversation with yourself. Have the hard conversation with God. Ask him, like, what's in my heart? Was there something that was already here? Like, have those hard conversations with yourself, and it'll make those difficult conversations that you need to have with other people more effective, even if the conversation doesn't lead to reconciliation.
That's good. Dang, I thought I had more time. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking about inventory too. I'm thinking about childhood. That's something that's really, I think I said it like 3-4 times. Sorry, y'all. I'm thinking about the fact that there are a lot of things that we need to heal from our childhood, and going back to your childhood and saying like, okay, come here, little Bri, like, come here, like, it's okay now. Like, you are safe. It is okay for you to heal from whatever it is that you were healing from. It's okay if you didn't know what you didn't know at the time. Let me give you this knowledge now. Let me heal you, and let's go to God to heal you actually now, and I think if we go back to our childhood and really dig deep and figure out like, where in my childhood did I not learn something, or where what's this pattern that I'm seeing in my life that's showing up in my workplace, showing up in my marriage, showing up in my friendships, my relationships? What is this one thing that is constantly popping up that seems to be a cycle? This is what I want to find out. God, please help me figure out where this came from.
Yeah.
And then please show me how to heal that area of my life. Healing is ongoing though. So just because you unpack it and you get to that place doesn't mean you're going to just stop there. You can't just stop there and take it out the suitcase. Where does it go?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do now? So I think that when we go back to our childhood, not to live there, because the past is a place of reference, not residence, not to live there, but to really just figure out what were those things, the jealousy, envy, like pride, going back to where did this start? And even if you can't dial it back that far, just think about like, where in my life am I jealous? Where in my life am I prideful? Where in my life do I have this big old ego thinking I'm better than everybody? That is what you attack. And the whole purpose of me saying that is because when you operate and you kind of unpack what that is, it'll help you have mature conversations. It'll help you you'll show up better in your relationships. You'll show up better in the workplace. It really will provide you with more self-awareness, not to where you think you know everything, but I now know, okay, well, this triggers me. This person triggers me. I need to stay away from this person or that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that is what I leave you with. Go back to your childhood, not to live there, but to really just find out like, dang, this pattern, I'm having the same issues in every single relationship. What is that? Because we think it's always the man or the woman or the friend.
And it's you.
And
you attract.
You're attracted.
Spirit.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited. Y'all can find us on Real Refined Podcast.
Yes. Thank y'all for rocking with us for another episode. Season 3 is going to be amazing. We're very happy to be back in the studio. And until next time, bye.
Bye.